South Africa, where the Commission of Inquiry into the massive fire of a building in downtown Johannesburg resumed. Last August, more than 70 people were killed in the central Marshalltown district. It was a blaze that swept through an abandoned 5-story building which was being occupied and rented out illegally. Locals refer to these buildings as being hijacked. The fire focused attention on the problem of derelict buildings and the danger they pose to people living inside them in one of Africa's richest cities. The disaster also left dozens of families homeless. Many have been relocated to a newly built makeshift shelter that they say is totally unsafe. DW correspondent Dianne Hawker visited the site.
This former parking lot is now home to over 100 survivors of the Marshalltown fire, one of South Africa's worst recent tragedies. They were relocated to Denver, a semi-industrial area with hardly any shops or schools. Their new temporary homes have no power or indoor plumbing. Residents are unhappy with the conditions.
Before we came here, we thought this would be a good place, but this is not a good place to stay. When you look at the hygiene and health, it's a problem.
Sthembiso Ndebele is a single mother and is worried about her safety and that of her children.
At night, we often hear gunshots. There are many gunshots, and it makes me afraid. I also don't feel good about the hygiene here. We have children, and it should be clean. The residents throw dirty water anywhere. They should install drains.
The lack of drains creates a bigger problem. The settlement floods on days of heavy rain. The corridors between the corrugated iron shacks are narrow, and in some cases 4 or 5 people live in a single tiny room. This is one of just 4 taps that's available to the residents in this area. If you look behind me, there seems to be a rubbish dump that's building up, and this poses a clear health risk to the people living here as well as to children who are playing around this area. More concerning is that this tap today has no water coming out of it, and residents say the taps here regularly run dry. They have taken the municipality to court to force it to improve conditions.
When we went to court, we weren't just asking the court to stop what was going on. We were asking the court to recognize these residents' human rights, that they actually are entitled to dignity, and this was not dignified.
The City of Johannesburg municipality says it has done what is required in law.
In an emergency, you will never get a 3-star accommodation anyway. There's a shortage of housing in the city, which we have acknowledged, which is known. We are doing the best with the little resources that we have.
The camp could double in size. The municipality wants to add more shacks to accommodate the remaining fire survivors. As authorities admit, Johannesburg has a major housing crisis. The city attracts thousands of people from across the country and continent looking for work, leaving hundreds of thousands in search of affordable accommodation. And that's what's led to a situation like the Marshalltown tragedy. People with nowhere else to go, illegally occupying unsafe buildings. Despite the dangers, many of the people who were relocated to Denver say they'd rather live in the inner city than here, where they worry they'll be forgotten by officials.